Paul Pogba was a player with the vision of Xavi and the power of Yaya Toure. A midfield maestro who could thread a pass through the eye of a needle, dominate the pitch with his physical presence, and leave defenders tackling air. Signed by Manchester United at just 16, he was once the most expensive player in the world, a World Cup winner, a generational talent. But today, his market value sits at zero, his career forever marked by two words: what if? How did one of the best midfielders of his generation become one of the biggest wastes of talent in football history? The year is 2007. In a small French town, a skinny teenager with a mop of wild hair steps onto a football pitch. He's gangly, but when he touches the ball, magic happens. Le Havre, a modest League Two side, has just signed a 14-year-old boy to their youth team. His name? Paul Pogba. It didn't take long for big clubs to notice. Just 2 years later, Manchester United came calling, sparking a protracted transfer saga that ended with Pogba joining their famed youth academy. The hype was real. Pogba was touted as the next big thing, a midfielder who could do it all. And on January 31st, 2012, at the age of 18, he made his Premier League debut against Stoke City. The world was at his feet, but then, halfway through the year, things went south. Frustrated with limited playing time under Sir Alex Ferguson, Pogba made a decision that would shape his career. He left Manchester United after only 7 appearances as a substitute to join Italian giants Juventus. Juventus only had to pay £800,000 to land their man. It was a move that raised eyebrows. How could United let such a talent slip through their fingers? But for Pogba, it was just the beginning. In Turin, Pogba blossomed into one of the game's best midfielders, alongside fellow magicians Andrea Pirlo, Arturo Vidal, and Claudio Marchisio. His versatility was unmatched. One moment, he'd be winning the ball with a crunching tackle. The next, he'd be launching a 60-yard pass with pinpoint accuracy. Watching Pogba in those years was like watching a maestro conduct an orchestra. Every movement had purpose, every pass had precision. The accolades started rolling in. 4 consecutive Serie A titles, 2 Coppa Italia trophies, 2 Supercoppa Italiana wins. He was named Serie A Footballer of the Year in 2013 and 2014, and the next year he earned a spot in the UEFA Team of the Year. But it wasn't just the awards that made Pogba special, it was the way he played the game. There's a reason he was called Il Polpo, which translates to Paul the Octopus. His long legs allowed him to cover ground effortlessly, and his strength made him nearly impossible to knock off the ball. He was excellent at maintaining possession, the ideal midfielder to build your team around. But while some of his best highlights came from threading passes and assisting others, he was also capable of some incredible goals himself. In a match against Udinese in 2014, Pogba received the ball just outside the box. With a quick flick, he juggled it up and volleyed it into the top corner. A rocket of a goal that would feel like a cheat if it happened on FIFA, but Pogba made it look easy. Off the pitch, his charisma was infectious. His dance celebrations became iconic. His ever-changing hairstyles were a topic of conversation around the world, often sporting intricate designs and bold colors. Pogba wasn't just a footballer, he was becoming a global superstar. But as his star rose in Italy, eyes across Europe began to turn, and one club in particular was watching him very closely. In 2016, Manchester United made a statement that echoed around the football world. They were bringing Paul Pogba back to Old Trafford. The price tag, a then world record €105 million. It was a homecoming that promised to right the wrongs of the past. Pogba was no longer the raw talent who left 4 years earlier. He was now a world-class midfielder in his prime, ready to dominate the Premier League. The expectations were sky high. United fans dreamed of a new era of success with Pogba as the centerpiece. But football, as they say, isn't played on paper. The Italian league, where Pogba had thrived, was a slower-paced game. It gave him time to work his magic. The Premier League was a different beast entirely. The relentless pace, the physical demands, the intense scrutiny, it all took its toll. Flashes of brilliance were followed by periods of inconsistency. A shining moment came in the summer of 2018, where Pogba played a key role in France's World Cup victory. He got better as the tournament progressed, and by the end he was the heart of the squad. It'll be a long time before any of us forget the images of him dabbing with President Macron. For a brief, glorious month in Russia, he was the player Manchester United thought they were getting. But that form never truly translated to his club performances. As the years went by, the initial excitement of his return faded, replaced by a growing sense of disappointment. In 2022, Pogba left Manchester United for a second time, returning to Juventus on a free transfer. It felt like history repeating itself. But this time, things would be different. On July 26th, just weeks after his return, Pogba injured the meniscus in his knee. What should have been a triumphant return became a nightmare of surgeries and rehabilitation. When he finally made his second debut for Juventus on February 28, 2023, coming on as a substitute in a 4-2 win over Torino, it seemed like maybe, just maybe, Pogba could recapture his old magic. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. Paul Pogba's career has been a roller coaster, but in recent years, it's felt like one long downward spiral. Injuries have plagued him relentlessly. Ankle problems, knee issues. Each time he seemed ready to return to his best, his body betrayed him. But physical problems were just the tip of the iceberg. Disciplinary issues also began to surface. He clashed with his managers and was famous for making controversial social media posts. The flamboyant personality that once charmed fans now seemed to grate on them. Questions about his attitude grew louder. Was he more interested in his brand than his football? Did he have the mental fortitude to overcome adversity? Then, in 2023, came the bombshell that would change everything. Paul Pogba tested positive for DHEA, a banned substance. The news sent shockwaves through the football world. Pogba was a World Cup winner and one of the most recognizable faces in the sport. And now he was facing a career-ending ban. His defense. He claimed he'd unknowingly ingested the banned substance through a supplement. But in the world of professional sports, where athletes are responsible for what goes into their bodies, such explanations often fall on deaf ears. The fallout was immediate and severe. Juventus suspended him without pay. Sponsors began to distance themselves. The French national team, where he'd previously been a key player, had to contemplate a future without him. But perhaps most damaging was the blow to his reputation. For years, critics had questioned Pogba's commitment and professionalism. Now, fair or not, this positive test seemed to confirm there were suspicions. He's now serving a 4-year doping ban, keeping him out of football until August 2027. He'll be 34 when the ban ends. In football years, that's ancient for a midfielder who relies on physicality and explosiveness. Pogba insists he's not retiring. He vows to fight the ban, to clear his name, to return to the pitch. But the harsh reality is this: we may have seen the last of Paul Pogba on a football field. In an instant, he went from being one of the world's most valuable midfielders to having a market value of 0. So, what's next for the one-time wonder kid? Will he successfully appeal his ban? Can he stay fit and motivated during 4 years away from the game? If he does return, can he possibly regain his past form? Or is this the end of the road for a player who once seemed destined for greatness? When we think of Paul Pogba, we'll remember the flashes of brilliance, the world-class performances, the World Cup glory. But we'll also remember the inconsistency, the controversies, and ultimately the fall from grace. From young phenom to world beater to cautionary tale, the Paul Pogba story is a reminder of how quickly things can change in football. It's a story that'll be told for years to come, not just for his incredible skill and potential, but as a reminder of how fragile a football career can be. And maybe, if they listen, it'll serve as a lesson for the next generation of big players. A lesson that talent is a gift, but it's what you do with that gift that truly defines your legacy.